Recognize Representative Mike Quigley, also from the state of Illinois.
Thank you so much, Chair. The setting seems familiar to me, and for my friends Danny and Chewy, we recognize the county board as the cradle of Congress. But the president's talked about going after the worst of the worst, but what I witnessed, the ultimate victims here have almost always been kids. And for that, I would say the president is the worst of the worst. From my own experience, yesterday I walked with an 8-year-old girl from a shelter to her school, her second day at the school. And she's living in a shelter, and she has to have somebody white walk her to school. And through my staffer, Victoria, who was walking me, she was communicating in Spanish how happy she was, how much she liked her new school and her new teachers, and what kinds of dogs she'd like to get. It's tough. On Monday, I had a Know Your Rights event at Lane Tech, and a young lady there, 16 years old, in a wheelchair, a cancer patient, whose father was picked up last Saturday because he was working extra hours to pay her medical bills. At Bethany House, a women's shelter, we were told that the women are afraid to go out and drop their kids off at daycare because ICE was right there, and they wanted to drop their kids off at daycare so they could go to work, so they could eventually move out of the shelter and have their own home and get GED and so forth and so on. At our domestic violence courthouse, we heard from advocates that when ICE came, women who were trying to get orders of protection, protect themselves and their kids, fled and aren't coming back because of ICE's presence there. So the story is universal. Again, when we're in Little Village and we hear that their business is down 50%, that's all food that puts, that's all money that puts food on the table for kids. So kids are the victims. So from who would like to address this most? When a parent's detained by ICE, could give us a deeper dive in your experience, what's happening to those kids, particularly where the parent was the sole provider and caregiver?
BPNC, thank you for the question. I think that we've had a lot of cases like that. We recently had a case of a young person at one of our local community schools who became solely responsible of his 2 younger siblings. We actually just dropped off groceries in the beginning of this week. They didn't have as much as toilet paper. And the one thing that the youngest one, the 6-year-old, my son's about to turn 6, so it really hurt me. All that she wanted was just a costume for Halloween and to see her mom. So this is what happens. Young people have to become adults in a matter of hours and figure out how to pay for rent, how to be that sustainability that the sole provider was providing.
Thank you. Look, and the list goes on, and the tragedies go on. When we go to food banks and hear that people are afraid to go to the food banks and they're actually forced to have drive-thrus and have deliveries, and I see the courage of people who are still going out there so they can put food on the table or to volunteer to help, I think it gives us all strength. We were at Pastor Harris's Bronzeville shelter, which was raided about 2 weeks ago. We hear of people risking living on the streets, many of them with kids, because they know that's where the raid took place. And they describe the circumstances of the raid, which can only be put into larger terms as sort of a reign of terror, right? Who imagine we live in a country where the President of the United States would say that our cities should be used as training grounds for the military to go after the enemy within. Unfortunately, the enemy within that he's talking about are all little kids. And, I think it should motivate us all to continue this effort. And I appreciate everyone up there for what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Quigley.